Loot, you need to gather resources, complete construction sites, and capture buildings to develop your fjord. Setup. Use as many landscape boards as players and slot them together. Place 2 houses, 2 watchtowers, and 3 castles on their designated spaces. Place the trophy board along one edge of the board and arrange the 5 trophies in ascending order. Place the ocean board along another edge. Mix 30 longships in the bag and draw 5 to place on the ocean spaces face up. Set aside a reserve for axes, wood, sheep, and gold. Each player chooses a color and takes 1 fjord, 13 Vikings, and 3 shields, and places the shields on the indicated spaces on their fjord. Shuffle each type of construction site tile separately: ports, altars, and Jarl palaces. Give each player 1 random tile of each type to place on their fjord, resource and building side visible. The player living furthest to the north goes first. Gameplay. Players take turns clockwise until they run out of Vikings. On your turn, perform 1 or more of the following actions. Placing a Viking. This action is mandatory. Your Viking must be placed adjacent to another Viking of any color or to a longship. The space must not be occupied by another Viking. Each space on the board corresponds to a particular type of resource. Take a corresponding resource tile from the reserve and place it on an empty space on your fjord. This resource can no longer be moved. Using a shield. When you place a Viking, you may also use 1 or more of your shields. Each of them can only be used once and will give you a special ability. Immediately place a second Viking, respecting the usual placement rules. Place your Viking on a resource space occupied by another Viking. When you place your Viking, gain 2 of that resource instead of 1. Flip the already used shields. Capturing a building. After placing your Viking, you should check whether you have captured a building. Each type of building has different capture rules. To capture a house, place a Viking adjacent to a space with a house. Take 1 tile for that house. To capture a watchtower, you must connect 2 watchtowers with Vikings of your color. You take 1 tile for each of those watchtowers. You can capture a watchtower more than once, but only if you connect it to a different watchtower. To capture a castle, you must chain together at least 4 Vikings of your color, and at least 1 of them has to be adjacent to the castle. Take a tile for that castle. An additional tile of the same castle can be taken only if you create a bigger chain. For example, 8 Vikings for a second tile and 12 Vikings for a third. Multiple buildings can be captured when you place your Viking. Place them on an empty space on your fjord. You can no longer move them. Completing a construction site. Your 3 construction sites can be completed by placing the necessary resources in the spaces adjacent to it. Flip it to show that it is completed. Selecting a longship. At the end of your turn, you may select 1 longship and place it on an empty space on your fjord. Similarly to the construction sites, longship is completed by placing all of the necessary resources in the spaces adjacent to it. Each completed longship gives you a bonus for a particular type of resource or building. Keep in mind, you lose 5 victory points for each longship that is not filled by the end of the game. Refill the empty longship from the supply. Claiming a trophy. At the end of your turn, you may also claim a trophy, but you can only claim 1 trophy during the game. To claim a trophy, you must have at least as many axes as shown on the trophy tile. Place the claim trophy on your board. End of the game. The game ends when each player has played all of their Vikings. Victory points are calculated as follows. Add the starting value of your castles to any castle bonuses you have obtained. Then multiply the result by the number of castles you have. Calculate the points you have earned for your watchtowers, houses, gold, sheep, and wood in the same way. Add the victory points for your completed construction sites. Add the victory points for your trophy if you have claimed one. Finally, subtract 5 victory points for each longship you did not fill. The player with the most points wins the game. In the event of a tie, the player with the highest value trophy wins.